Quick, off the top of your head, of all the active players currently in the NBA, who reminds you most of Steph Curry? I'm sure some of the names that come to mind are Trae Young, Tyrese Halliburton, Kyrie Irving.
Tyrese Halliburton? Fuck no. Curry, I mean, Trae Young, the only one I can think of. Like, literally, Trae Young is the only one. And even that, Trae Young really mostly like a pass guard, like a pass first guard. Curry a fucking shooter. Shoot first. Who the most like Curry in the NBA? Yeah, it would have to be Kyrie. It would have to be Kyrie.
Kevin Durant, if he was 9 inches shorter. Try all you want, but the overwhelming and correct answer is no one. Even as the catalyst to one of the biggest evolutions in basketball history, there is still nobody that is quite like Steph in the NBA today, or ever for that matter. The greatest shooter of all time by a country mile, as devastating off the ball as he is with it. The skills to carve up defenses and score from—
Not gonna lie, bro. I've been thinking, I ain't gonna count. Curry might be top 5 best players in the NBA ever. Swear to God, bro. It really started to click for me because when I was in college, bro, one of my roommates was like, we was talking about top 5s in basketball. That nigga said, he said like Jordan, Bron, Kobe, Curry, and he had said somebody else. I was like, Curry, really? I have never heard that before. Then he explained to me like, yeah, like the dude is literally unguardable. He says there is no other player in basketball where when they walk past half court, they are being guarded like they're like that somebody's life depends on it, bro. Like, nigga, I've been seeing ever since then. I've been seeing clips of Kevin Durant. Y'all know who the fuck Kevin Durant is, my nigga. When he was in Golden State, that nigga would get wide open buckets. It would be Curry on the wing, KD at the top, and niggas would go run at Curry while KD had the ball and give him a wide open lane to the basket for a dunk. That's how dangerous this light skinned motherfucker is, bro.
From any—
So I ain't gonna lie, Curry top 5.
Where, despite being a relatively undersized, unathletic guard. By now, nearly a decade after the long ball took over the NBA, it was assumed that Steph's influence would spawn an entire generation of copycats. And although the game has changed, there's still no one that plays it the way he does. While aimlessly browsing through some stats not too long ago, it came to my attention that a 37-year-old Steph Curry once again led the NBA in three-point shooting last season.
Anthony Edwards was number 2. He was putting that bitch up. He was putting that bitch up. I ain't gonna lie. On 44% from the field. Oh, wait, no, from 3? 39? Shout out to my nigga Ant, bro.
For the 10th time in his career.
Jesus.
The league is still trying to catch up to where Steph has been for the last 10 years. And with each passing season, the reality becoming more painfully obvious that Steph isn't a product of the league's evolution. The league's evolution is a product of him. And as long as Steph can do things that no one else can do, it may be a while before we find a worthy successor. But why is that? In fact, with a game that has become the blueprint for modern-day guards, why has there not been a single player in the NBA who plays like him or can do the things he can do?
They can't. I'm gonna make this 24-minute video short real quick, nigga. They can't because this nigga Curry has been shooting 500, 600, 700 shots a day since he was fucking a little ass kid, bro. And his dad just so happens to be one of the best shooters in NBA history as well. Genetics definitely play a role in this.
This series of questions led me down a long and exhausting rabbit hole of what I believe to be the most extensive look into this topic. Who is the most similar player in the NBA today to Steph Curry? Today's video is sponsored by DraftKings.
Shout out DraftKings. They're not sponsoring me. DraftKings, you want to sponsor me? I would definitely put y'all in my video, but not right now.
How can you accurately compare anyone to one of the most unique players in basketball?
Curry puts up a 3. Bang! Bang!
When put to the task of finding the most similar player to Steph Curry, the first instinct would be maybe a long-range sharpshooter. But these comps never quite work. The best three-point shooters in recent history are far too one-dimensional on offense to be compared to Steph. Look for perimeter players that can generate offense like Steph, and you'll find a lot of freak athletes, ISO-heavy guards, and players who aren't willing to run to hell and back like he does every other possession to get a bucket. This 2020 Bleacher Report article cited Mark Price, Pete Maravich, Steve Nash, and Jerry West as the most comparable players to Steph. All of them solid.
I haven't really seen Pete Maravich hoop for real. But Steve Nash, I can see that. That nigga used to fucking run around everywhere. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, I can see that too. But even then, I don't even know. Yeah, he was on ball and off ball like our Curry was. Niggas do not know who the fuck Mark Price is, bro. Jerry West was not moving like fucking Curry, bro. Let's stop this shit. These old niggas, bro. We done with the 70s. We done with the 80s. We done with the 90s, bro. Them niggas is not as good as the players is today, my nigga. They're not. Can we stop this bullshit, bro? The defense now is better than it was in the 90s. It's emphasized more. The offense is better. Bro, I seen a video last night. Rest in peace to the I can't remember his name, bro. I don't want to just be like that guy. I don't want to say that because he passed away. Let me see real quick. Charlie Kirk, bro. Charlie Kirk, rest in peace. But I had seen him getting into like going back and forth with another kid. It was just like some fun little back and forth banter. It wasn't that serious. It like Charlie had asked the kid. He was like, was defense emphasized more in the 90s or now? It's definitely emphasized more than it was in the 90s. In the 90s, niggas had illegal defenses. Either you had to double team a nigga or you had to go against somebody one-on-one. So that's why Jordan was out this bitch scoring fucking 40 every game. The nigga was playing he was the best player in the world. One of the best players ever. Arguably the best player ever. Playing one-on-one basketball. Hell yeah, this nigga finna bust everybody's ass. So defense is definitely better now. Offense is definitely better now. We have more players that are elite basketball players. You feel me? Everything about the game now is just better than it used to be, bro. I'm sorry, bro. It's way better to look at. It's way more appealing to look at. It's way more popular. The players are way better. You have some crazy shit. We got a 7'4" nigga running around moving like a guard. You feel what I'm saying, bro? Like, basketball, like, come on, gang. Niggas be talking about LeBron James, the nigga that's 6'9", 260 fucking pounds of pure muscle, can't play in the 90s. Nigga, Michael Jordan was 6'6", 215 pounds. Nigga, Russell Westbrook is 6'3", 215 pounds. Like, let's stop this shit, bro. The players are now bigger, stronger, faster, and better.
Comps if they hadn't retired decades ago.
Sorry about the rant, but I had to get that out my chest.
There's a great tool called Doppelgangers, which uses an extensive batch of metrics to find similar players throughout the NBA. But this tool specifically looks at the results of a player's game without including the method in which they got those results, which is an important distinction. For example, Steph and LeBron both averaged the same amount of points last season, but the way they scored those points were wildly different. In our experiment, the method is just as important as the results. And so I decided to take matters into my own hands. And after countless hours of research, metric-based analysis, and data crunching in an attempt to answer this question, I think I've got it. An almost definitive conclusion on the most similar player to Steph Curry in the NBA today. And the answer may surprise you. First, I had to reduce the entire league down to players who had even an ounce of resemblance to Steph and his game. Floor generals, undersized guards, sharpshooters, off-ball merchants, great scorers, crafty perimeter players, players who love the three ball, and because, why not, his own brother. Eventually, I was able to narrow the list of players included in this experiment to about 75. Of those 75 players, here are the ones that eventually scored the highest in similarity to Steph. Now, how exactly did I quantify similarity throughout this process? Well, first I had to determine the metrics in which I wanted to measure. And here are those metrics: gravity, usage and creation, shot selection, portability, passing, defense, athleticism, dominance, shooting ability, and play style.
Gravity, how much attention and resources the team uses to try to... Curry, oh my fucking god, that nigga shit is on 1,000. Usage, 1,000. Shot selection, Curry shoot whatever the fuck he want, whenever the fuck he want. Portability, how well a player can fit into any perfectly. Damn, it's really crazy because Curry fits into all of these so extremely well. except maybe like Curry holds his own on defense. He can guard his position well enough, and athleticism, he fits into that too, but just not as much as like the freak athletes in the NBA.
10 isolated metrics that factor in each and every aspect of Steph's game. Finding the similarities between him and any other player was the easy part. For example, take passing, which can be measured fairly accurately with passer rating, a metric that measures how frequent, effective, and efficient a player passes the ball. Steph's career passer rating is 6.9. That's pretty good. Jalen Brunson has a passer rating of 7.13. That's even better. Klay Thompson has a passer rating of 3.48. And that's not so good. To quantify just how similar these two players are to Steph in terms of passing, we just need to figure out how much their passer rating deviates from Steph's. In this case, Jalen Brunson's passer rating only deviates by 3.2%, while Klay Thompson's passer rating deviates by 49.5%. This would give Brunson a pass.
Bro, how fucking long does it take this nigga to make these videos, bro? Like, these are some really good fucking videos. Like, I have been watching JxmyHighroller for years now, bro. How long does it bro? Like, these videos are crazy, bro.
Passing similarity score of 96.8% and Klay Thompson a similarity score of 50.5%. By using this method of measurement, I calculated the similarity score of every player in our experiment across all 10 previously mentioned categories, then I tallied up their score to find the most similar player to Steph. The player with the highest score after evaluating all 10 categories is of course the player who shares the most in common with him. So now you know the method, let's see the results. Now the first factor we're going to be taking a look at is Steph's most valuable skill, his shooting ability. In a game where deciding who is the best at anything can be a tall task, Steph has completely removed any room for debate as the greatest shooter of all time. A skill set so valuable that he altered.
I'm fucking convinced Curry just be throwing shit at the rim and it just so happens to go in, bro. Oh my mama, I'm convinced that's what's be going down, bro. Cause look at that shot.
Room for debate as the greatest shooter of all time.
Like, what the fuck is that? He shot that bitch to the fucking heavens. Like this, he flicked it. Just like that.
So valuable
that bitch pussy too. That bitch so wet. Look at that. That bitch didn't even come close to hitting the rim. He could have shot that damn shot worse. It still would have been nothing but net. That's how good of a shot that was.
The course of basketball with it, and a skill that we can measure using crafted NBA shooting quality metric. It's a stat that combines shooting percentages with spacing and shot value to find what they describe to be the most accurate shooters in the league on a scale from 1 to 100. For some perspective, no player in NBA history has ever scored a perfect 100 out of 100 in shooting quality for an entire season, except for Steph, who's done it 4 times. But throughout his career, Steph has maintained an average shooting quality of 94.6. And the most similar player to him in the NBA today in terms of shooting ability is none other than his former Splash Bro, Klay Thompson, who has a career average shooting quality of 85.7 and a similarity score of 90.
85.7 and Curry has an average of 90 something. So even this little shit right here is a big ass discrepancy.
6%.
It's a big ass gap.
Followed closely by Desmond Bane, Peyton Pritchard, Buddy Hield, and Seth Curry. Keep in mind, although I will only be displaying the results of 20 to 30 players per category, each individual score is being factored in and will be revealed at the end. But just as important as Steph's ability to shoot the ball is where he's shooting the ball. 10 years ago, there were 3 players in the entire league who averaged at least 20 points per game with a 3-point attempt rate of at least 40%.
Type shit.
Volume scores off of volume threes. A shot diet that was essentially prohibited unless you were an absolute flamethrower. But thanks to Steph, times have changed. Because last season, there were 24 players around the league who averaged.
Like, bro, I don't think you niggas really realize how fucking far the NBA 3-point line is and to shoot 40% from that, bro.
At least 20 a game, while attempting at least 40% of all of their shots from beyond the arc. Steph laying out the.
Why the fuck is like Victor Wembanyama is in this, bro? The nigga is 7'4". The rest, everybody else is literally guards that are fucking. The average height of these players are like 6'4", 6'5", and you just got a 7'4" nigga shooting 40% from the field. Like, that's crazy. That's insane.
Roadmap for modern day shooters, with about 15% of his shots consisting of layups, 21% of his shots in the mid-range, and over half of all of his shots throughout his career being 3-pointers. And the most similar player to Steph in the NBA today in terms of shot selection is Tyrese Halliburton. with shooting tendencies that virtually mirror Steph's and a similarity score of 94%, followed by Anthony Simons, Jordan Poole, and Patty Mills. One thing I want to point out here is just how many young players compare well to Steph in this category. Guys who watched Steph at a young age and have skill sets that were more than likely influenced by Steph. Which brings up the next category and one of the most indicative measures of similarity from player to player. And that is play style. What role they play on offense, where they find the most value while they're on the court, and their habits both on and off the ball. Now, quantifying a player's play style is tough to do. What do you measure, and how do you measure it? Well, on craftednba.com, within each player's profile, there is a breakdown of their usage by play type. These plays range from ISO possessions, pick and roll as the ball handler and the roll man, the post, off-ball cuts, handoffs, screens, and spot up. These 8 play types are essentially the 8 major different roles a player can play on any given possession, and we can use them to get some insight into the habits, strengths, and weaknesses of each individual player. In the case of Steph, the 4 most revealing characteristics of his offensive game are ISO possessions, spot-up shooting, possessions coming off of screens, and pick and rolls as the ball handler. Now, if we take these 4 play types and search for the player with the most similar usage across all 4, then the player that
Take a guess. ISO 8%, spot up 13, off pick and roll, ball handle. Gotta be like James Harden, Trae Young, or somebody like that.
That has the most similar playstyle to Steph is Devin Booker, who has eerily similar usage to Steph across these 4 play types.
Oh my God, I said, I am nowhere fucking near. I said James Harden, he's not even on the list. Same with Trae Young, nigga not even on the list.
Easily the highest similarity score in this category of 84.8%, despite not necessarily being a player you would associate with playing like Steph. The next most similar players are Emmanuel Quickley, CJ McCollum, Jordan Clarkson, and Cam Thomas. For the most part, quick movement shooters who play below the rim and operate best in set actions as opposed to isolation. Play styles that are necessary thanks to our next category, athleticism. Unlike many of the top guards from his era, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, John Wall, Steph's lack of world-class explosiveness has kept his game, for the most part, on the ground and away from the basket. According to B-Spark, a metric that uses results from athletic tests such as the ones included in the NBA Combine to determine a player's speed, power, agility, reaction, and quickness, Steph ranks in the 28th percentile in terms of athleticism in the NBA, or at least he was at the time he was drafted. And in terms of athleticism, the most similar players to Steph in the NBA today are D'Angelo Russell and Jordan Poole, with nearly identical B-Spark ratings to Steph's and similarity scores of 99.9%, followed by Peyton Pritchard, Luka Doncic, and Cade Cunningham. Now, our next category has been one of the more underrated aspects of Steph's game.
Yeah, but Cade Cunningham is fucking 6'8", big as hell, strong as shit, bro. So like, it's kind of different for him. You know what I'm saying? The rest of them are like kind of like small guards like Curry, bro. But Cade Cunningham, it's just different, bro.
Throughout his career. And that is his defense. Where his athleticism and size fall short, Steph makes up for it on the defensive end with elite IQ, quick hands, and adding over 20 pounds to his frame throughout his career. In fact, according to Crafted Defensive Plus Minus, an all-in-one advanced metric that measures how valuable a player is on defense, Steph is actually a net positive on the defensive end.
Hell yeah! Curry was in talks for Defensive Player of the Year because the nigga kept getting steals and shit, bro. Like AI, like him and AI, they wasn't like really good, super good on ball defenders, but they could definitely read a fucking passing lane like no other, bro. Get steals.
Steph does.
So they definitely wasn't. They was liabilities, but they weren't liabilities. You feel?
Struggle a bit is his defensive versatility, a target for switches and mismatches against larger guards and combo players, especially as the league continues to get bigger around the perimeter. Take these 2 metrics, Crafted Defensive Plus Minus and defensive versatility, and we can find out how valuable Steph is on defense.
Give me that
and which
shit.
player is most similar to him in this aspect, which in this case is Donovan Mitchell, with a similarity score of 96% on defense, followed by Kyrie Irving, Austin Reeves, and DeJounte Murray. But whatever Steph doesn't do on the defensive end, he
Bro.
makes up for tenfold as arguably the most valuable offensive player in the history of the league. With his usage and creation, Steph has spent his career as one of the largest offensive generators in the league, both carrying offenses and playing within the offense. And to measure this, we can use 3 different metrics: box creation estimate, offensive load, and usage percentage, where the player most similar to Steph will undoubtedly have to be an ultra offensive engine who can create opportunities not just for himself, but for his team.
Harden.
So it should be no surprise that when it comes to usage and creation, it is James
Yeah,
Harden
like
who is
Harden.
most similar to Steph in the NBA today, with a similarity score of 98.9% and career metrics that are virtually identical to Steph's across the board. The next most similar players are Damian Lillard, LaMelo Ball, Ja Morant, and Cade Cunningham. Pair Steph's ability to create offense with his shooting, and you have a recipe for his game-breaking quality as a player. His gravity. It doesn't matter where he is or what he's doing. When Steph is on the court, he is a threat from anywhere at any time, disrupting defenses with and
Oh my
without the ball.
God, he fucking killed Chris Paul.
He is a threat
He killed
from
that nigga.
anywhere at any time, disrupting defenses
Oh my God.
with
Oh my
and
God.
without the ball and forcing them to get sucked into his every movement. Hence the term gravity, or as B-Ball Index describes it, how much attention and resources a team uses trying to defend a player while on and off the ball.
All
You can see it
fucking
in action
15
every time you watch
players.
him play, as defensive schemes completely fall apart trying to track him around the court, send double teams when he's 30 feet out, and at times completely neglect other players altogether when the Warriors are running options for Steph. It's easy to completely
Like,
neglect
what the
other
fuck is this shot?
on the court,
Like, look
send
what this
double
nigga
teams
just
when he's 30
did.
feet out.
This nigga just dribbled 1-2
And at
defender, bro.
Times
Split the third defender.
completely
Dribbled past a fourth defender with the primary defender still chasing him. This nigga threw a tween while doing a 180 into a step back in the NBA corner. The NBA three-point line is like 19 feet away from the basket. And this nigga just did a fucking turnaround between the legs, sidestep over a nigga that's probably like 6'6", with like a +3 to 5 wingspan. Over those.
altogether when the Warriors are running
Pussy.
options for
That bitch is pussy. That bitch was wet.
Steph. It's easy to see, but tough to measure. However, B-Ball Index makes an attempt at quantifying a player's gravity by using a few different metrics like double team rate, shot location, team shot quality, and tracking data with their on-ball and off-ball gravity metrics. Stats that are rated according to percentile relative to the rest of the league, and where Steph has career averages in the 95th percentile in on-ball gravity and nearly the 100th percentile in off-ball gravity, making him not only one of the most lethal on-ball offensive threats in the league, but by far the most valuable off-ball threat in the league.
Like,
throughout
both
his
of those are
career.
crazy.
And among the players we are evaluating, the one with the most similar gravity to Steph is Damian Lillard, with a similarity score of 95.8%, followed by Kevin Durant, Tyler Hero, Cade Cunningham, and Devin Booker. But gravity holds a lot less weight if you aren't a great passer. As the defense collapses, how well can you find opportunities that open up? And despite not playing the traditional point guard role throughout his career, Steph is an excellent passer, particularly in transition, in the pick and roll, and out of double teams. Of course, a good metric to evaluate passing skill is passer rating. This metric, similar to a few others, is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best possible rating. Now, throughout his career, Steph has had a passer rating of 6.9, and the player most similar to him in this metric is Dennis Schroeder, who has a career passer rating of 6.93 and a similarity score of 99.5%. The next most similar players are DeJounte Murray, Alex Caruso, Brandon Podziemski, and Damian Lillard. In this category, it's not the floor generals, but rather combo guards who are the most similar to Curry.
Hell yeah, because they're going to score. That, like, bro, people always wonder why can like James Harden and Curry average and like LaMelo Ball, why can they average like 10 assists while scoring 25? And Trae Young, like, why can they do that over somebody who's like Ricky Rubio, who's known for like just their ability to pass the ball? Because Ricky Rubio isn't John Stockton isn't a fucking big ass threat offensively to put the ball in the basket. Can they do it? Yeah, I'm sure they can, but they're not the biggest threat. They're trying to get the biggest threat. They're trying to get it there. So when you got like James Harden, he blow by somebody. He going to the rim, the whole defense is collapsing. All he gotta do make a kick to the corner. They make it assist. Do that fucking 10 times a game. Easy 10 assists. You know what I'm saying?
Add all of these traits up, and you'll find why Steph is not just one of the most lethal offensive weapons of all time, but also one of the most portable. Steph has the skill set to thrive in any system around any players. It's one of the reasons why the Warriors have continued to find success throughout his career despite featuring an array of different players over time. Steph's value is virtually independent of his situation, and there's actually a metric that makes an attempt to measure this adaptability called portability. This metric collects data like passer rating, shooting ability, ball dominance, and usage, as well as defensive versatility, and calculates how portable a player is within any given system. In other words, how well would a player fit if you dropped him into a team with 14 random players? This metric also being on a scale from 1 to 10. Steph has a career portability rating of 9.18,
God
one of
damn.
the highest in NBA history, and the most similar player to Steph
Who has
in
the
this
highest?
regard is Mike Conley, who has the same exact career portability rating as Steph with 9.18.
Mike Conley is so fucking cold, my nigga. Mike Conley is so fucking cold and it's so underrated, bro. Nigga, I watched Mike Conley give LeBron James 30 off all. Mike Conley left-handed. I watched that nigga give LeBron James and the Lakers 30 with his fucking right hand, bro. In 2018, I went to an NBA game, Lakers versus Timberwolves. Not Timberwolves, Grizzlies. He was still on the Grizzlies then, Grizzlies. Bro, this nigga was fucking cooking in some Concord 11s. I'm talking about frying shit, bro. It was the most beautiful and amazing shit I had ever seen, bro. Like, the way he did it just looked so easy and effortless, bro. Like, nigga just kept, right hand, floater, jump shot, bang, bucket. It looked so fucking easy, bro.
100% similarity, followed by Desmond Bane, Tyrese Halliburton, and Jalen Williams. Which brings up our last and most polarizing category, dominance. How good at basketball Steph is. A player can shoot like Steph, move the ball like Steph, play the same position as him, but if they aren't dominating games like him, how similar to Steph Curry can they possibly be? And to measure dominance, instead of looking at accolades or accomplishments, we are going to look at purely how great they have been in their time in the NBA through the lens of an advanced metric, crafted plus minus. Now, this metric is an aggregate of 10 other advanced metrics. It's essentially an all-in-one of all the all-in-ones. It's just what we're looking for. And Steph's career crafted plus minus is 6.45, the 8th highest in NBA history. The closest player to Steph within our player pool in terms of dominance is Chris Paul, with a career crafted plus minus of 6.59 and a similarity score
like
of
above
98%, followed by James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Luka Doncic. And with that, we have now assessed all 55 players across all 10 categories.
It's crazy that players like in such short time, like Shea, Donovan Mitchell, Tyrese Halliburton, John Morant, Anthony Edwards are on this list, bro. Like, and they're all like in the top 15, like 14, 13, 10, 8, 7. Like, these niggas have been in the league. Like, Shea is on like 7. Donovan Mitchell on like what, 9? Like 6, 7. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Like, they've done so much in such a short ass time, bro. These are some really fucking good basketball players we have now today, bro. Some really fucking good, bro. And we should definitely appreciate these niggas more.
A process of research and number crunching that took me far longer than I'm willing to admit. But it was all worth it. Because in a league where Steph remains a unicorn, I think with very high accuracy, I have narrowed the search for the most Steph-like player down to one. After scanning a field of 75 potential matches across 10 different categories and dozens of metrics, the most similar player to Steph Curry in the—
Who is it? Who is it? Who we think it is? Who we think it is? My guess, out of all the niggas on it, bro, it's gotta be Kyrie, bro. Like, it has to be Kyrie. It has to be Kyrie. It has to be, bro. Like, who else? Who else could it possibly be, bro?
The NBA today is Damian Lillard.
I'm fucking so stupid, bro. That makes so much sense, bro. I'm tripping. How did I forget about Dame like that, bro? It's literally, for a while, it's always been Dame versus Curry, Dame versus Kyrie, Curry versus Kyrie, Curry versus Dame. It's always been that, bro. I'm tripping.
Which, as a Blazers fan that watched this man for over a decade, completely adds up. In the end, Dame finished with an average similarity score of 82.71% across all 10 categories, finishing just ahead of James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. All names that make sense, but for completely different reasons. Although there is truly no one like Steph in the NBA, both past and present, Damian Lillard is about as close as you're gonna get on the stat sheet, the eye test, and in skill set. And if we look at the results from this experiment, you can really get a full scope of all of these similarities, especially in gravity, passing, usage and creation, and shooting ability. The only categories he didn't score well in were dominance and play style, which makes sense. As great as Dame is, the peaks of Steph's career have been about as high as any player in NBA history. Steph has a sizable gap on everyone in the player pool in this department outside of Chris Paul, Harden, Durant, and Luka. And in terms of play style, Dame works in isolation much more than Steph does. Some of this can be attributed to Dame's superior athleticism. You'll never see Steph competing in a dunk contest, but as his career has progressed and his explosiveness has declined, their games have become more similar with time. Lillard now less reliant on his athleticism as his skill set has gotten deeper and his range much further. Dame also prefers to initiate offense through pick and rolls as opposed to Steph, who will initiate the offense but works more off the ball during these actions to get open for a shot later in possessions. Tendencies that bring out the biggest differences visibly when you watch them play. But outside of these few differences, their games are strikingly similar in comparison to other players around the league. When I saw the results of this experiment, I couldn't help but to think of one moment during the 2021 All-Star Game, when Steph and Dame were going back and forth trading shots from half court. If there is one man who can go blow for blow with the greatest shooter of all time from 40 feet out, it's
but Dame way stronger than Curry, bro. He was shooting that bitch from behind the line, bro. Like, he was definitely shooting farther than Curry, bro.
Damian Lillard, a player who's hit so many clutch bombs, he has a celebration for it. And although one of Steph's superpowers is his off-ball brilliance, a clearer look into their similarities comes in moments when Steph really leans into his abilities to take players off the dribble and create his own shots. The key to their similarities being that they are both two of the greatest shooters of all time, but they aren't just shooters. They're offensive machines. Where most players who are capable of shooting at an ultra-elite level tend to neglect alternative scoring opportunities, Steph and Dame, although both being relatively undersized, are incredible at getting inside, collapsing defenses, and scoring around the rim, as well as creating open looks for their teammates. Very rarely do you get a player who is just as efficient and willing to score from inside 6 feet as he is from 26 feet. And almost never do you see a player that can do both at historic levels. I do think over the years, Steph has essentially market-corrected Lillard. Everything Dame can do, outside of maybe ISO, Steph can do better. For years, I watched defenses break their brains trying to figure out how to stop a guy with a hair trigger and 35 feet of range. And I couldn't help but to notice there's only one other guy in the league that was capable of the same thing. Now, here are the full results from this experiment, with the 75 total players involved condensed to the 55 with the highest scores. And there's a few interesting things going on here. First, the top 3 finishers are all guards from the same era as Steph: Lillard, Harden, and Kyrie. All products of their era, playing a similar brand of basketball throughout their careers, even over younger players who shaped their game around Steph's. Kevin Durant, a 7-foot small forward, finished in 4th. The only 7-footer in the history of basketball that you could legitimately compare to Stephen Curry. But some surprising names that finished high were Fred VanVleet, Emmanuel Quickley, and Desmond Bane, who all finished in the top 10 while sharing different things in common with Steph. I also want to point out that Seth Curry, the man's own brother, finished in 42nd. Among the younger guys in the league, it was Tyrese Halliburton who had the most in common with Steph, finishing in 5th, followed by LaMelo Ball, Cade Cunningham, and Anthony Edwards. For the most part, it is the highly skilled and versatile perimeter players that have the most in common with Steph, even if aesthetically they don't necessarily look similar on the court. Players who are great shooters, create a lot of offense, have high gravity both on and off the ball, are about average defensively, and aren't freak athletes. Regardless of the way it looks, there are many parallels in the games of the most elite guards around the league, and Kevin Durant. And it's their abilities that lead them to a style of play that is similar to Steph's in one way or another. So, there you have it. In case you were wondering who exactly is the most similar player to Steph Curry, the answer is Damian Lillard. But let me know what you think. Was the method used to determine our outcome effective, or are there other metrics out there that could lead us?
Dame is back on the fucking, oh my god, Dame is back on the Trailblazers. Jesus Christ, oh my god, Dame just wants to fucking lose, bro. Dame, I thought you wanted the ring. Oh my god, I just thought about that, bro. Not gonna lie, bro, I really wish they could have figured it out on the Bucks, bro. What I think is how the Bucks should have worked was how the Cavs worked with Kyrie and Bron, bro. Well, like, Bron, or in this situation, Giannis takes over the entire game. For the entire game. And even like the situation was like Shaq and Kobe and Bron and Kyrie. What they should have, what Giannis and Dame should have did. The first 40 minutes of the game, because it's 48 minutes played, 12 quarters, 4 fucking shits. 4 quarters, 12 minutes. The first 40 minutes, all Giannis, bro. Let Giannis eat. Let Giannis do his thing. Them last 5 to 8 minutes of the game, though, all Dame. Everything goes through Dame, because that's where his brain kick starts. And he gets going. That's where Damian... And that's how it was with Shaq and Kobe. The first 40 minutes, all Shaq. Them last 5-8 minutes, all Kobe. Same thing with Bron and Kyrie. As you can see, them last couple minutes, and even with KD, what KD do in Brooklyn? Let Kai shoot it. Let Kyrie shoot it, bro. Some players are just meant for certain moments on a basketball court, and it's just about knowing your personnel. And you can say what the fuck you want about LeBron, but LeBron knew and understood that, bro, and that's why he put that ball in Kyrie's hands. That's why niggas do things like that, bro. Just gotta understand.
Got too high, fuck, I'ma do that shit again. Brand new